Musa, if you're going to cough, I'm going to make you leave, brother.
No problem.
So you have to choose, brother. Do you want to cough or do you want to sit with us?
I want to sit with my brother. You can't stop me.
Yeah, you're right about that. Let me be quiet then. All right, let's get it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala al-falah. Hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, let me begin as always by humbly requesting that you move forward, sit close together, and fill in any gaps in front of you or beside you, thereby making room for your brothers and sisters who will come late. So if you're not next to your neighbor, get close to your neighbor. And if there's a space in front of you, go ahead and move forward and fill that space. Jazakumullah khairan. We also request, as always, that you turn off these electronic devices, these cell phones and pagers, which have a tendency to ring and ping and ding at the most inopportune time and disturb us during our ibadah. And last but not least, we humbly request, as always, that you open your ears, your minds, and your hearts to what I'm about to say. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم التنزيل وكذلك نولي بعض الظالمين بعضا بما كانوا يكسبون. And likewise do we grant some wrongdoers authority over others because of what they earned of evil deeds. We make some wicked people rulers over other people who are wicked because of their wickedness. وقال ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما إذا رضي الله عن قوم ولى أمرهم خيارهم وإذا سخط الله على قوم ولى أمرهم شرارهم. Ibn Abbas said, commenting on the verse, if Allah is pleased with a people, He will appoint the best of them to govern them. And if He is displeased with a people, He will appoint the worst of them to govern them. ويذكر أن أحد ملوك بني أمية سمع مقالة الناس فيه فجمع أشراف الناس ووجهاءهم وكلمهم وقال لهم أيها الناس تريدون أن نكون لكم مثل أبي بكر وعمر قالوا نعم. It has been mentioned that one of the kings from Bani Umayyah heard about some of the negative things that were being said about him. So he gathered the elites and the eminent personalities and the nobility and addressed them saying, "O people, would you like us, the ruling class, the leaders, Bani Umayyah, would you like us to govern you like Abu Bakr and Umar governed? And they said, yes, of course. This is what we want. We want you to be better. فقال إذا كنتم تريدون ذلك فكونوا لنا مثل رجال أبي بكر وعمر. فالله سبحانه وتعالى حكيم يولي على الناس من يكون بحسب أعمالهم. إن أساءوا فإنه يساء إليهم وإن أحسنوا أحسن إليهم. So this king from Bani Umayyah, upon hearing them say, yeah, we want you to be better. We want you to be like Abu Bakr and Umar. They were such great leaders, so just, so kind, so generous. They had so much integrity. We want you to be like that. So he replied, if you really want that, then be like the people Abu Bakr and Umar governed. For surely Allah the Exalted is wise. He gives authority over people to those who will be a reflection of their own deeds. If they behave badly, He will appoint for them leaders who are bad. And if they behave well, He will appoint for them leaders who are good. وقال الإمام ابن القيم رحمه الله تعالى وتأمل حكمته تعالى في أن جعل ملوك العباد وأمراءهم وولاتهم من جنس أعمالهم بل كأن أعمالهم ظهرت في صور ولاتهم وملوكهم. We'll just wait for everybody to get settled because people are distracted. No, you don't be sorry. Don't have to be sorry. طيب. وقال الإمام ابن القيم رحمه الله تعالى وتعمل حكمته تعالى في أن جعل ملوك العباد وأمراءهم وولاتهم من جنس أعمالهم بل كأن أعمالهم ظهرت في صور ولاتهم وملوكهم فإن استقاموا استقامت ملوكهم وإن عدلوا عدلت عليهم وإن جاروا جارت ملوكهم وولاتهم وإن ظهر فيهم المكر والخديعة فولاتهم كذلك وإن منعوا حقوق الله لديهم وبخلوا بها منعت ملوكهم وولاتهم ما لهم عندهم من الحقوق وبخلوا بها عليهم وإن أخذوا ممن يستضعفونه ما لا يستحقونه في معاملتهم أخذت منهم الملوك ما لا يستحقونه وضربت عليهم المكوس والوظائف وكل ما يستخرجونه من الضعيف يستخرجه الملوك منهم بالقوة فعمالهم ظهرت في صور أعمالهم وليس في الحكمة الإلهية أن يولى على الأشرار الفجار إلا من يكون من جنسهم. So Ibn al-Qayyim, following the same pattern, he says the following: contemplate his wisdom the exalted, in that he made the kings, the heads of state, and the governors of his servants in the image of their deeds. Nay, in reality, it is as if their deeds manifested in their rulers and kings. When they are upright, their kings are similarly upright. And when they are just, justice is upheld for them. But when they transgress, their kings and leaders transgress as they do. When deceit and treachery prevail amongst them, their leaders will be likewise. When they withhold the God-given rights of others and are stingy with what is not theirs, their leaders will withhold their God-given rights and be stingy toward them. When they take what they are not entitled to in their transactions with those over whom they have authority and who are at a disadvantage, their kings will take from them what they are not entitled to and impose taxes and duties upon them. And everything they extract from the most vulnerable and less fortunate, their leaders will extract from them by force. Their leaders have manifested in the likeness of their deeds. And it would not be consistent with divine wisdom that the wicked and immoral should be governed except by one who is similarly immoral and wicked. He goes on to say, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَلَمَّا كَانَ الصَّدْرُ الْأَوَّلِ خِيَارُ الْقُرُونِ وَأَبَرَّهَا كانت ولاتهم كذلك فلما شابوا شيبت لهم الولاة فحكمة الله تأبى أن يولي علينا في مثل هذه الأزمان مثل معاوية وعمر بن عبد العزيز فضلا عن مثل أبي بكر وعمر بل ولاتنا على قدرنا وولاة من قبلنا على قدرهم وكل من الأمرين موجب الحكمة ومقتضاها. He goes on to say, rahimahullah ta'ala, and since the first generation was the best and most pious generation, their rulers were likewise. But when people changed, their rulers changed accordingly. Allah's wisdom forbids that He appoint over us in these times someone like Muawiyah or Umar bin Abdul Aziz, let alone someone like Abu Bakr or Umar. Nay, our rulers are cut from our cloth, and those who ruled our predecessors were cut from theirs. And both of these realities are required by divine wisdom and the result of that wisdom. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبي محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters, it seems nowadays everywhere we look, at every level and every sphere of influence, we are afflicted with leaders who are utterly disappointing, unsatisfactory, and wholly inadequate. And wholly inadequate. Their incompetence, their prioritizing power and profits and perks over people, their leading from the shadows, their cowardice, their corruption, their dishonesty, their betrayal, their hypocrisy. And the list goes on and on and on. This problem, the problem of leadership, is a far-reaching problem with far-reaching effects, and because of that, it needs a solution. So what is the solution? What are we going to do to change things? What can we do? Brothers and sisters, I have a lot to say about this, but time will not permit me to say everything I want to say. So I'm going to say two things and save the remaining of my remarks and comments for this evening's program. First of all, brothers and sisters, we, recognizing the situation for what it is, cannot be the people who say it is what it is. We can't be the people who despair, who are hopeless, who despair of Allah making things better than they are. As Allah says, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رُوحِ اللَّهِ فإنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. Never despair of the mercy of Allah, for none despairs of the mercy of Allah except the people who disbelieve. Brothers and sisters, no matter how powerful and omnipresent we perceive the ruling class to be, Allah is more powerful. He is all powerful. And He is the one who is truly omnipresent. He is everywhere. Not in person, but everywhere by His knowledge and His might. He surrounds them. He encompasses them. But they don't perceive His presence and they underestimate His power. In tasbiru wa tattaqu لا يضركم كيدهم شيئا إن الله بما يعملون محيط. If you believe, O believers, if you patiently persevere and fear Allah as He ought to be feared, Their plots will not harm you in the least. Assuredly, Allah encompasses all that they do. فَأَتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُونَ. Allah came upon them and they never saw it coming. While they plot, and their plots are devious and diabolical, Machiavellian, always plotting against us. Always, it seems, 10 steps ahead of us, playing chess while we play checkers. But Allah simultaneously plots against them. And His plot is superior. His plot foils and frustrates their plot. وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plot and Allah plots against them, and Allah is the best of plotters. Brothers and sisters, rest assured, Allah will make us victorious over those who oppress us, provided that we make ourselves worthy of victory. وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Do not grieve or lose hope. You will gain the upper hand if you are believers. Which brings us, brothers and sisters, to the second and final answer to that question, that all-important question. What are we going to do about it? We must control what we can control, ourselves. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah is not going to change the condition of a people until they change themselves. The ayah, the athar, and the statement of Ibn Qayyim that we mentioned at the outset, all of them make it abundantly clear, brothers and sisters, we don't get the leaders we want. We get the leaders we deserve. If we want better leaders and a better situation by extension of having better leaders, we must begin by being better ourselves. And don't think I'm taking any onus off the leaders themselves, but I'm saying we can only control what we can control. As the people of knowledge and wisdom have often said, كَمَا تَكُونُوا يُوَلَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. As you are, so will your leaders be. Before we pray, brothers and sisters, I want to make one important announcement. Tomorrow, this weekend, is the weekend of the Shindig. And it's a big deal for us, and it's an opportunity for us to come together as a community, and we want everybody to be here. We want everybody to be in attendance. It's time for us to come together and meet people and spend time with each other, get to know each other, share halal jokes with each other, laugh from our stomachs with each other, play games together, and foster that community spirit together. Now, as you all know, the celebration, the party, if you want to call it that, will kick off right around 3 o'clock or so. We'll start barbecuing out in the back. We'll have games for kids of all ages. And we'll do that all the way until sunset. At sunset, we'll have a huge bonfire. We'll do s'mores. It'll be fun for everybody. It's an event. We do it every year, and everybody loves it. It gets bigger and bigger every year. We want it to be the best one this year. But before all that, before we get to all the partying, we usually come together in the morning for community service, to give back to the community, to take care of the house of Allah, do something to improve the house of Allah. After all, brothers and sisters, if we don't take care of the house of Allah, who will? So while everybody likes to come for the party, and we want you to come for the party, we also want you to come for community service. We'll meet here at 10 a.m. We're going to do some light things together. We won't do anything too strenuous. We won't break anybody's back. But come give to the masjid. Before we take, let us give. Meet us in the morning, 10 a.m. There'll be refreshments. We'll have donuts. We'll have other things you probably shouldn't be eating anyway. We'll have all of that. And we'll get out here and we'll do some things outside. We'll do a few things inside. Again, no back-breaking work. We'll do a few things and then we'll reconvene at 3 o'clock and we'll party as a community. So please join us starting from tomorrow for the Shindig, 10 a.m. and then again after recess, 3 p.m. We look forward to seeing everyone there. We love you. We want to love each other and love on each other. And we want to be a community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. May He bless your families. May He bless this community. May He bless this ummah. May He give us better leaders. And may He make us the people who deserve better leaders. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وقوموا إلى صلاتكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Yes, sir. Extra bottle of water, yeah. My fault, man.
So he won't call.
My fault. Put that So we'll have him try to sneak right in this room. Alley right here. Yeah, that could work. What's your name? Wissam. I never got a chance to meet you. Wissam. Give a short about what it keeps on. After Muhammad Sadi. Oh, we'll be back. Yes. What is your setup? سلم علي سلم علي طيب والله وسام so nice to meet you رجاء الله يبارك فيك all right Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For those of you who are in the hall, we have our brother. What's your name? Robin. Yes, sir. Perfect. Back in Robin. Yes, sir. Perfect. All right. So we got our brother Robin. He wants to take the shahada. Okay. And so Robin, I assume you have something to say on what the shahada is, what it means, what you do, what we get into. All right. Perfect. All right. So repeat after me, Robin, because we have another service in a few minutes. All right. So ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I testify I will believe without any coercion or compulsion that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. Allah. All right. So I want to see your face on the day. All right. There's a lot to learn. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. الله يحفظك سعيد. شوف بالك شيء.
Don't be a stranger. Just be strange, not a stranger. Thank you. How are you doing?
Isaiah, nice to meet you. Say, how you feeling? Like, did you start learning more? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, those are great. No impressions. Yeah. I think that was the whole thing I did when I converted. Like I just started trying to learn everything.
Brother Yusuf, good job. Good job for breaking it. Allah bless you, brother. So happy to have you. Allah guide you every step of the way. Come tomorrow for the gathering.
Yeah, he told me about it.
Yeah, I won't be in a trouble today, but in trouble.
What do you want?
I'm actually not welcome. I'm in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Stay here. When I'll be here, I'll be here.
Because I feel like, you know, he's a great mentor.
He definitely
He
is.
mentored me too when I came.
Definitely mentor. I told him, you know, mentorship with everybody, you know what I'm saying? Bro, he definitely good mentor.
You are the closest one to us from Allah. You are the closest one to Allah. All your sins are wiped away.
Yes.
You're like an angel from this moment.
Yes.
Yes. So Allah bless you.
Yes. I feel brand new. I feel good.
Yes, mashallah.
We did it. Here you go. You got it. Hey.
Yes, sir. We're going back out there. We're back out there. Okay, so.
The second place started or no?
Yeah, it's at 2 o'clock. Yeah, it's 1:56.
Nobody.
Allah. Allah. يا رب يا كريم عليكم السلام.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah.
I work from home, so
You could do it. You could make it happen. Wow, that's awesome.
So I got you. Let me go to the.
Alright, let's see. Today is 10/17. Alright, let me. I don't know what the secret sauce is to get those to work. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Nabi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So good evening and welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming to another installment of our weekly series, studying the sermon, where we, as you all know, we revisit the Khutbah of the day, we talk about it in a little bit additional detail, mention some things and highlight some points that we weren't able to expand on in the Khutbah given the time constraints, and offer you, the audience, the opportunity to contribute to the discussion in a meaningful way, whether that be through questions you might ask, feedback you might give, sharing your own anecdotes and experiences with the topic, or critiquing the khutbah, if you so choose. And the title of the khutbah today was, As You Are, So Will Your Leaders Be. كما تكون يولى عليكم. As you are, so will your leaders be. And the main idea that we wanted to convey in the khutbah was we wanted to basically call the attention of our members to the pervading crisis of leadership. And we wanted to offer some solutions to the problem. I think that many of us, just generally speaking, I think that we might, we might recognize this as an issue and be a little bit frustrated by it. I know certainly I was, or I am, I should say. And this was actually why I wrote about or chose this topic today, because I'm a little bit, frustrated, just overall. And there are a few things I think particularly which made that frustration kind of boil over. So one of them obviously is the government shutdown, which is, I think it's over 2 weeks now, Dr. Ali, is that right? Over 2 weeks, right? And every time the topic is brought up and one of these people who is, a central figure in government, what they do instead of, responding to the questions that are being asked in them, they just point the finger at each other. And regardless of how many people are being crushed by this, and hurt by this, and affected in negative ways by this, they just don't seem bothered. They seem more concerned with what? With assigning blame. And so that's frustrating, right? That's frustrating. Also, another thing that kind of caused me to be extremely frustrated was what we're seeing in the Middle East. What we've seen for the past 2 years, what we've seen most recently. And I know that people kind of look at what happened earlier in the week, the weekend into the week. They look at that as a triumph, right? But I think part of the reason why is because we're so fatigued from the conflict. We want it to be over, whatever that looks like. And part of it is because we haven't looked beneath the surface of the reality of what they refer to as peace, and we're not paying attention to the actors. And we're not also looking at all of that in the context of history. How many times has an accord been reached? How many times has an agreement reached, a pact been made and broken? And so all those things, in that terms, and basically because this is a general reality that exists wherever leadership exists. You just find yourself, as we talked about the Khutbah, we'll talk about, expand a little bit more, you just find yourself disappointed. That at every level, in every sphere, the leaders and the people who are supposed to represent us, we find them to be disappointing, we find them to be unsatisfactory, we find them to be wholly inadequate, as we said in the Khutbah. And so, that being said, let's go ahead and recap. Let's go ahead and recap the Khutbah. And the Khutbah, as you all know, it's centered around an ayah from Surah Al-An'am, the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُوَلِّي بَعْضَ الظَّالِمِينَ بَعْضًا بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. And likewise do we appoint certain people who themselves are wicked, they're bad, to be in authority over people who are bad. Because of the bad things they did. Basically, we give them leaders who are a reflection of themselves, right? And then we also mentioned 2 athar. One of them was Ibn Abbas commenting on the ayah. And he said basically that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with the people, He appoints the best of them to lead them. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with the people, He appoints the worst of them to lead them. And then we also mentioned a lengthy quote from Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala. And so that was the foundation and of the khutbah, and all of those nusus, what they all had in common was they conveyed this twofold message. The first part of that message is we get the leaders we deserve, not the ones we want. We get the leaders we deserve, not the ones we want. And the second message is our leaders are a reflection of ourselves and our behavior. So basically, when you look at your leaders and you're cursing them, realize that you're looking what? You're looking in the mirror. They are a reflection of us as a collective. It may not be a reflection of you as an individual, but they're a reflection of us as well, as a collective. Somebody says, okay, well, these are the Muslim rulers. Well, that's a reflection of what? Of the Muslims. That's a reflection. So as if we're looking in the mirror. And I want to pause here and mention a point that I think is very important and worth mentioning as it relates to this whole concept of when you look at your leaders and you're disappointed, you're actually looking at a reflection of your own self. There is a common refrain, and you'll hear this a lot, from so-called blue-blooded, ultra-patriotic Americans who have bought into the idea of American exceptionalism. The idea that America is the ideal. They are Americans, and America and the American way of life is inherently good, and they are inherently innocent, and they're the people who wear the white hats in the world, etc. right? They believe in that completely. American can do no wrong, right? They buy into that. So these people who believe in that American exceptionalism, these blue-blooded, ultra-patriotic Americans, whenever Americans in mass, whenever they, or even American individuals, whenever they do something, and these individuals are seen to represent America or Americans, and they do something reprehensible. And I'll give you some examples out of it, just so we're all on the same page. So I'll give you an example, January 6th. Something like that happens, and it happens by a large group of people who are seen to kind of represent who the Americans are. I'm sure people who are watching it from other countries are like, oh, they get down like that? That's how they, So just think about that. January 6th, these people stormed the Capitol. They broke into the Capitol, right? They basically trespassed. They did forcible entry. And those officers of the law who were trying to prevent them, they attacked them. They beat them. Some of them, they smashed them in doorways. And once they entered the Capitol, they did some horrible things. They did things that reached the level of what animals do. They actually took their excrement and wiped it on the walls of the Capitol, right? So January 6th, that's one example. I'll give you another example. Large-scale gerrymandering to rig elections and to disenfranchise, black and brown voters, non-white voters, right? Another example, withholding life-saving aid to black and brown countries. And thereby basically being directly or indirectly, however you want to look at it, responsible for the deaths of what? Thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe perhaps even millions of people, from diseases which are easily treatable and curable, and famine, and the disease that comes from famine, etc. and so on. Another example, mass shootings and senseless acts of gun violence. How many mass shootings have occurred in this year? How many mass shootings have occurred in this country this year alone? This year alone. Just Google it real quick. Somebody Google it. It's like, how many mass shootings have we had in this country, right? And it just happens over and over again. The same day that Charlie Kirk was killed, that same day, I think there were 2 mass shootings. One of them in Colorado, and one I think was at UMass. On the same day. Nobody talked about those. Because it's become so common, people don't talk about it. It doesn't even become like headline news anymore. And when also participating in a genocide or aiding and abetting a genocide, funding a genocide. And last but not least, from the examples we'll mention, these reprehensible acts that people do who represent America. 342. 342. Wow. And it's just what? Mid-October. 342. Thank you, guys. And last but not least, killing dozens of people in international waters, claiming that they're guilty of a crime and doing so without due process. Just blowing a boat out of the water. Just blowing a boat and saying, these 6 people on this boat, which was sitting idle. Some of those boats were sitting idle. They were not traveling. Just blown out of the water. And then they say, well, we killed these people because they were drug traffickers. Man, that's your word. That's what you say. What proof can you provide? And when? So these are just some examples, right? So you take any one of these examples and you say, hey, look what these Americans are doing. These people who represent America are doing. And people will say what? They'll say, that's not who we are. They'll say, that's not who we are. No, yes it is. It is exactly who you are. It is exactly who you are, and the leaders of the people who do these types of things will be a reflection of them and forge in their what? Forge in their likeness. Understand that you can't have the type of leaders that we have right now. And I'm just right now, at this moment, I'm talking about this in this country. But the khutbah was about what? Leaders at all levels we're going to see. But you can't have the people you have and the positions that they're in, saying the things that they say, doing the things that they do. Unless what? Unless that's how the people here actually are. Right? I'll give you just one example just to highlight this, is that I think some of you have heard about this whole scandal about the text messages of the young Republicans. Yes. They had a whole chat, I think it was on Telegram, that was entitled, I Love Hitler. And it was just full of what? Racial epithets and things like supporting the concept of gas chambers. We should bring back the gas chambers. I want to see people burn, this type of thing, right? They were saying this in these chats. And you have people at the highest level of government defending it, downplaying it, belittling it. Why? Because these people who were saying this were what considered to be the common folk, although some of them actually are in elected office or they work for people who are in elected office. These people are considered to be the common folk are what? Are a reflection of what? Of the leaders that they have who are what? Who are condoning the same behavior. So this is who they are. And so the reason why the politicians here are so bad, they're so corrupt, they're so deceitful, they're so hypocritical, because they were saying, if anybody said anything bad about Charlie Kirk, right, those people were awful people, and etc. and so on. But these people who do this and say, I love Hitler, and say we should kill the Jews, or we should, calling black people by a certain name that we won't say here, we say that that's free speech. So when it's this person, it's not free speech, it's speech that's unprotected, this speech is protected, it's just hypocrisy. The people are like that, their politicians are like that, because why? They themselves are like that. The people are, but this is exactly who they are. All right, so I just want to drive that point home. And
they're not going away. These are tomorrow's leaders.
Exactly. Well, actually, they're today's leaders, right? They're actually today's leaders, right? A reflection of today's leaders, right? So then in the khutbah, one of the things that we said early on, we mentioned the ethar of one of the kings of Bani Umayyah. And in that ethar, if you guys remember, he had heard what some people were saying about him. He had heard, and they were not saying positive things. They were not saying flattering things about him. And so he gathered some of the nobility, some of the elites, some of the aristocracy, and he addressed them. And he said, people are saying all these bad things about Bani Umayyah, about the ruling class. Do you guys want us to be for you or govern you the way that Abu Bakr and Umar governed? You guys remember that? And they said emphatically, yes, of course. We want you to be like them. We want you to have their same level of integrity, their same level of honesty, their same commitment to religion, their same religious commitment, their same fairness and justice, their same zuhud, right? Their asceticism. They were very simple people who lived simple lives. They said, we want you to be like that. So then the response was what? The response was, if you want us to be for you like Abu Bakr and Umar were for the people who they governed, then you have to be like the people that they govern. You see that? And so I want to pause here and say this, is that I think if we were to ask that question to most people in our own community, we asked them one by one. We said, would you like your leaders, whether we're talking about leaders at the mosque level, right? In the mosque, in our own local community, or leaders of the world leaders, these leaders of the Muslim dominant countries. We asked them, we said, do you want them to be like Abu Bakr and Umar? I think most people would say, yes. Most people would say that. Either they would say it because they really want that, or they think they do. They think they want that. Or they would say it because why? They think that's the right answer, right? You know what I mean? It's like it would be wrong for me to say no, right? But the question that we have to ask ourselves sincerely and really, really sit with ourselves and ask ourselves is, do we really want that? Do we really want that? And are we ready for that? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we don't really want that. We don't really want that. Just take for example, in our own community, how we kind of conduct our business. Okay? If Abu Bakr or Umar were our leader, would we be able to do that? Would we be able to get away with it? I'm just saying. Just think about it. Just think about it. If Abu Bakr and Umar were alive today and they were the imam, for example, of this masjid, and somebody came in late for Jumu'ah and started talking to their companion, started looking at the phone, texting on the phone, which happens almost every Jumu'ah. Somebody will take out their phone and look at the phone and start, scrolling on the phone. Okay? If somebody did that, what would they do? Huh? Yeah. And if they did that, would we tolerate that? If they said, "What are you doing? Leave the masjid," Will we tolerate that? Will we accept that? No, we would have a problem with that. We would have a problem with that. And this is just a small thing. What about bigger things? If Abu Bakr and Umar said, okay, look, we are not going to tolerate being at the back of the caravan. We're not going to accept being the doormat to the world. We're going to stand up to our enemies. I don't care if you have a butter knife. Get your butter knife and come out and be ready to fight your enemies. Who's going to do that? Who amongst us is going to do that? Y'all see that? Who amongst us is ready to go and potentially be killed or maimed? Their wife be a widow. Their kids will be orphans. If he said, listen, in order for us to make this work, it has to be funded. We want people to what? To give us the shirt off their back to fund jihad. Who's going to do that? Who's prepared to do that? That's what they did. That's the life they lived. That is the life they lived. If they said, look, we don't have jeeps and tanks to get you out to the battlefield. You got to walk. You got to walk, and you have to finance and fund your own jihad. You have to get the gear you're going to need and the food and provisions you're going to need. And whatever you have, you come walking and you meet us here. The companions did that. In many cases, the Prophet ﷺ did not have enough horses and camels and mules to carry people out to the battlefield. They walked. And they didn't walk a mile or two. They didn't walk a mile. They walked. You see what I'm saying? They walked long distances. They walked what might be walking, for example, from one end of the tri-state area to the other one, at the end of it. And they did that. Who's prepared to make that sacrifice? And so this is the other thing too, is that we have to be realistic about who we are and what we are, the way we come to the mosque. It happened one time during the Khilafah of Umar. He was given the Khutbah. And Uthman came, and he came late. And he called him out. He called him out. He said, Mutaakhir. He said, you're late, Uthman? You're late? He said, Uthman! And he called him out. And Uthman said, yeah, something happened. I wasn't even able to make a ghusl to get here. I just came as I was. And then Umar said, and you didn't make ghusl either? He called him, you got to figure, ghusl, listen now, ghusl, according to the strongest opinion of scholars, is recommended. It's not wajib. But he still called him out for it. They were different people. They were different people. We live in a time where, alhamdulillah, we have a masjid and we have people who come. There are times where we have 2 rows for Salat al-Isha. We've had 2 rows for Fajr. I think there's been days we had 3 rows for Fajr. Or maybe we've had a lot of people for Fajr on some days. And it's not uncommon for us to have 2 rows for Salat al-Isha. Alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase His barakah. But listen, those 2 rows and sometimes 3 rows are nothing compared to the number of people who live in and around the masjid. Close enough that they could drive in 15 minutes. All right? During the time of the Prophet Muhammad, during the time of the Khilafah, the caliphs, if a person didn't come to the masjid, they considered him munafiq. They were just different people. They had a different standard. We're not ready for that standard. And so that point that particular king from Bani Umayyah made is a very, very significant point. Look, listen, if you want leaders who will be like this, then you have to be like the people that they led, and they were a different type of people. They were a different type of people. We mentioned, we said that everywhere we look, at every level and every sphere of influence, we said we are afflicted with leaders who are disappointing, unsatisfactory, and wholly inadequate. And this is not just an American politics issue, although these leaders in this country who lead these parties right now, from top to bottom, they're awful. They're awful. And we could spend days talking about the reality of that. But we're not just talking about politicians, we're talking about people who run institutions and organizations and corporations. We're talking about from the top, the CEOs, to the regional managers, to the direct supervisors. And all of you have some experience with that. People who lead, and they shouldn't lead. People who are incompetent, but they're in charge. People who are afraid, they're cowards. And leadership requires what? A certain level of courage. Education. Some of you have attended higher studies, you had a mentor, you've had a research advisor, and they were wholly inadequate, and they set you up for failure. And a master's thesis or a PhD that should have taken you this long ended up taking you so much longer. Why? Because the incompetent person was put over you. Similarly, influencers and activists, people who lead movements, religious figures. Politicians, heads of state, kings, presidents, ministers, etc. And world leaders, the UN. Who's satisfied? Who's satisfied with the UN? UN's a joke. It's a joke. How do you have world leaders who are supposed to be committed to for fostering peace and maintaining peace and safety and security for people all over the world, making sure that people don't starve, making sure that people don't start wars and larger countries don't beat up and bully smaller countries. And they don't do any of that. And this genocide's been going on for 2 years, and all they've done is do resolutions that get vetoed by what? By one country. Come on, man. What are we doing? And so then we went on and we talked about their incompetence, these leaders. What are some of the things that we find fault with them for? Their incompetence, we said. They're prioritizing profits and power and perks over people. They're leading from the shadows. Leading from the shadows. Leader needs to be out front. Leader needs to be out front doing the work and setting the example. There's a famous hadith, where a noise was heard in Medina. Just imagine, especially back in that time, a noise that sounds as if like a bomb went off in the distance. That's odd. It would be odd for us in modern civilization, but it was extremely odd for them to hear a sound like that off in the distance. So the people in Medina, and they were brave men, they got up and they tried to get themselves together because it happened in the night. They got up, they got themselves together, and they went to see what it was. They started to leave their homes in the direction of what? Assault, in the direction of what the sound they heard. And all of a sudden they hear what? The galloping of a horse coming in their direction. And it was the Prophet Muhammad shirtless, with a sword thrown over his back, saying, "It's all right, it's handled. You can go back to sleep now." That's a leader. That's a leader. He's not at the back like, let them go and see what it was. And then I'll come out later and take credit for it. No, they got themselves together and they got whatever their gear and they put their shirts on or whatever they did. And by the time they got out to go toward the direction of whatever the commotion was, the Prophet was already coming back and had handled whatever it was. That's a leader. He doesn't lead from the shadows. He's not sitting, cowering, in the back, letting other people take the bullets. They talk about how the Prophet, when they would go for battle, he would be in the front. He would expose himself to harm and lead from the front. We talked about, or we mentioned another fault, their corruption. Their corruption. Come on, $400 million planes. And what is it? What were the chips they got? What were the chips they got? Who bought chips? We don't even see who it was, but they bought chips for AI, right? They bought chips for AI. In order to get those chips, they donated a large sum of money to what? To a crypto company that belongs to a very corrupt man who lives in a big White House. Their corruption. And it's so sad too, because it's one thing to yourself to be corrupt. It's another thing for someone to basically make you their lapdog, and you allow it. Recently, when they all were meeting for this peace agreement, one of them who was extremely wealthy, one of the wealthiest men in the world. He was shaking hands with that corrupt man who lives in the big White House. And that guy says, hey, this guy has a lot of money. He has a lot of money. He has a lot of money. What does that mean? All he sees you as is what? Is a dollar sign. That's it. You're nothing to him. He doesn't respect you. He respects the fact that you have a lot of money. And how can I what? How can I get my hand in your pocket? Their corruption, their dishonesty. Their dishonesty. Man, I am so tired of being lied to. I'm so tired of being lied to. I'm so tired of my intelligence being insulted. You can't watch a simple video about anything, especially anything political, except that what? It's filled with what? With lies that are verifiably false. It doesn't take a person with a great deal of knowledge and a person who's well read to see that what? This is a lie. And people feel comfortable lying. Their betrayal. And those who know. Those people in Gaza have been betrayed. They have been betrayed. This is a fragile peace. I hope it lasts. I don't believe that it will. Already, listen to this. You make conditions that you know are unachievable, so that you can say these people violate the peace, and you can do what? And you can slaughter them. And you'll justify it by saying, look, they didn't keep the agreement. You say you have, let's say, I don't know what they said exactly, but you have 48 hours to return all of the hostages that are alive, and you have 72 hours to return the hostages who are dead. The hostages who are dead are buried under rubble. It's going to take some real heavy machinery to get those hostages out of that rubble. They don't have no machinery in Gaza. They don't have the heavy machinery. Somebody's going to have to what? Supply that. And if you make it, for example, 72 hours, how long is it going to take for those supplies to be brought in, that heavy machinery? And once the heavy machinery is in there, you have to have somebody who's qualified to be able to run that machinery, operate that machinery. And even then, you don't really know how long it's going to take ultimately with the heavy machinery to do what? To lift that rubble and to remove those remains. Y'all see that? So that's what? That's a setup. That's a setup to be what? And if you sign that agreement, you betrayed those people. You betrayed those people. And their hypocrisy. Go ahead.
So the Turkey set up ATM to get those trucks in, but they were denied.
They were denied entrance. SubhanAllah. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And last but not least, their hypocrisy. Another thing that I'm really, really tired of, frustrated about is this is good for me, but not for thee. This is good for me, not for thee. This is good for me, not for thee. We kind of touched on this a little bit with the whole Charlie Kirk situation. When this Charlie Kirk thing happened, no one could say anything negative about him, even truthful things. Not even just saying, hey, this is what he said, right? Like doing a cut-up, a mashup, or taking things that he said that were transcribed and just what? Posting those. That was considered to be something that would be derogatory towards him. And people lost their jobs over that. Not because they said anything about him that wasn't true. They just said what he said, right? And the whole concept of free speech was thrown out the window. Or people would say things like, yeah, you have the right to free speech, but free speech has consequences. So I feel about like fast forward to a couple of days ago, Politico publishes an article. And the article basically is, I think it was entitled, I Love Hitler. Because that was the title of what? Of the Telegram group, chat group that these people were in from Young Republicans. And the things that they said were much worse than what anybody might have said about Charlie Kirk. What anybody might have said about Charlie Kirk. The same person who was telling us, hey, people have free speech, so people shouldn't have free speech, and they shouldn't be able to say things about Charlie Kirk, and if they do, they should lose their jobs, etc. and so on. This same person comes out and says, these are just young people, these are just kids, and kids do stupid things, and we shouldn't make a big deal out of it. So free speech for me, but not for thee. Y'all see that? Yeah. And so the hypocrisy. And I do want to say this too, because I need to be fair, because we're kind of dragging leaders right now, whoever they are, wherever they might be, in whatever sphere of influence they might have. I'll be the first to admit it's hard to be a leader. It is hard to be a leader. People are constantly focusing on your faults and your failures, whether those are real or simply imagined. I do understand this. And they are hypercritical, and they always point out weaknesses but seldom acknowledge strengths. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody be honest. How many times have you gone to a restaurant and you loved the restaurant, it was really, really good, and you left a positive review? How many times have you done that? Most people don't do that. If their experience was positive, they don't say anything. But if their experience was negative, 7 times out of 10, they're gonna what? You're gonna hear about it. Y'all see that? So a lot of people love the restaurant, but they're what? Sakitin, they're quiet. And the few people that hated it, they're really loud, right? They're really loud. All right. Also, we understand that it's unfortunate, it's true, but true that people who are in leadership roles, they are seldom given the benefit of the doubt. And we seldom make excuses for them. And so, to be fair, there are some times that these leaders might have to make really, really tough decisions. And they're not the decisions that they want to make, but the decisions that they're forced to make. And we acknowledge that. And sometimes a leader has to take 2 steps backward in order to take 1 step forward. See that? And that's understandable, and we need to try to be fair and be objective and try to really find out what made certain people make the decisions that they made that disappointed us, let's say. And I'm gonna give a little bit of a personal example, just so everybody kind of can see things from the other side. The first year I came here, we did the summer camp, as we always do. And one big part of summer camp is field trips. And we make a commitment to our parents and to our campers that we're going to take them out into the community and do some type of social, recreational activity. So I think that first year we had one field trip a week. We would do one full field trip a week. I think the second one we got a little bit ambitious. We were doing like 2 field trips sometimes. So we plan the field trips well in advance, and we book the venues and we book the vendors in advance. So I think one of the field trips we had booked well in advance was an archery field trip. And we're going to go to this one spot, and they were going to teach our kids about using the bow. And they had a person who was a master in archery, and he was actually from another country. Right, he was an immigrant. I don't know what country he's from. So we're really excited about it. And so as it got closer, we reached out to confirm, and they told us we're going to have to cancel because our master of archery had to travel back to his home country for a family emergency or something like that. So now you got to think we have to pivot. And we have to keep our commitment to our parents and to the campers. We told them there was going to be a field trip every week, right? And we did have contingencies. We planned in advance. And look, if this doesn't work out, we have this contingency. Well, the contingency for that particular week and that particular field trip was Aquaplex. Anybody know what Aquaplex is? It's right what is it on? You go down Mercury and then is it Coliseum Drive, right? So Aquaplex was our contingency. And so when we announced that, there were people who they didn't like that idea. And they thought that we were exposing the kids to something that was like immoral. That basically some people are going to be there in bathing suits and all of us going to be exposed and this, that, and the third, and you guys shouldn't do it and so on and so forth. And as much as we appreciated that advice, we were kind of in a dilemma. We had to kind of keep our word, and that was our contingency. That's what we had. That's what was available. And we got a lot of heat for that. Well, we didn't. I did. Like, it's never our intention to do anything wrong. As much as I didn't totally agree with what was being said, but I did appreciate the position. I appreciated it. And I could see where they were coming from, and I agree with it to a certain degree, but I didn't agree with it entirely. But at the end of the day, I had a decision to make. We had already collected money, right? And we'd given our word that they would have a field trip. So I either had to do what? Refund the parents. And I had to do what? I had to break my word. And I would have to break my word to the campers and break my word to the parents too. And I just felt like, look, the best thing to do is what? You know, take it on the chin, take the kids to Aquaplex, and make the best of it. And so I say all this to say, just to give an example of how sometimes you have to make tough decisions and decisions that people don't like, and people will blame you for it, right? And it's not because you're bad or you don't care about doing the right thing. It's because what? You're trying to do what? You're trying to balance between what? Different, different factors or different considerations, I should say. Like, so we talked about this whole thing about, it's hard to be a leader, etc. But in addition to saying that, I want to say this. Listen, it is hard to be a leader, but by the same token, there's a statement that says, to whom much is given, much will be required. See what I'm saying? When people put you in charge, you see what I'm saying? Heavy is the head and wears the crown, so to speak, right? It just is what it is. People are going to expect things from you. And you just have to kind of just take it on the chin and try to be the best you can be. And if your best wasn't good enough today, try to be better tomorrow. And this is the case for leaders at all levels. And that includes these people over here who we're very, very upset with, who are considered the world leaders of the Muslim countries. It's like, yeah, to whom much is given, much is required, much is expected. We want better, right? We want better. We want somebody who will just stand up and have some backbone. We would love to see that. Lastly, I want to say that we talked about, what to do. What to do. That this is awful and something needs to change, something has to give, and what to do. And we mentioned two things in the khutbah. I'll expand on one of them, and then I'll mention the third thing that we didn't mention in the khutbah, and then we'll open the floor for any questions or comments. So the first thing we said, do not despair. Because the more you see things unfold, whether in this country, which is rotten to the core, its political system, its leadership system is rotten to the core, and I don't know if it can be saved. I don't know if it can be salvaged. I don't know if there's any coming back from this. But regardless of that, we shouldn't despair, because Allah made us a firm promise in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not break his promise. But that promise is conditional on us being believers. As he says, وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Do not despair. Do not be sad. You will have the upper hand, guaranteed from Allah, if you are believers. So we have to do our part. Which brings me to the second point that we mentioned, which was we have to control what we control, which is what we have to control what we can control, which is ourselves. It's like we spend so much time looking outward. We have to look what? Look inward. And this is not a cop-out. This is not a cop-out. Oh, yes. Okay, so we're taking all the onus off the leaders. No, we're not. No, we're not. This is not an attempt to absolve the leaders of responsibility. They are responsible. They are responsible because they've been entrusted. Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'oolun an ra'iyatihi. All of you are shepherds, and each one is going to be asked about his flock. The head of state is going to be asked about what? All the people in his authority. They're going to be asked, and they're going to be held accountable. And we believe that they should be held accountable. But at the same time, sitting and waiting for them to change or backbiting them is not an effective strategy. That's not an effective strategy. Just sitting here and just eating their flesh and saying how horrible they are and what cowards they are. That right there is not going to change anything. And it famously, I think it was Sa'id ibn Jubair, who was a pupil of Ibn Abbas, he came to him and he said, A'amuru amiri bil ma'ruf wa anhahu an munkar. He said, should I give advice to my leader, to my governor, to the one who's in charge of my affairs? Should I command him with good and forbid him with evil? Should I confront him and tell him what I really think about what he's doing to his face? قال ابن عباس إن خشيت أن تقتلك فلا. I'm sorry. إن خشيت أن يقتلك فلا. He said, if you fear that he's going to kill you, then don't do it. If you feel like the harm is going to outweigh the benefit. Because there's some countries, man, if you say something, you in your own home, and you say the wrong thing, they will come and put you in jail. There are certain people who fled certain countries. They fled certain countries because they knew that they would be captured and thrown in jail, and nobody would ever see them again. Those people fled to other countries, and you know what the people in those governments did? They started arresting their family. Family didn't do nothing, but they arrested their family to put pressure on the one who fled. Y'all see that? So Ibn Abbas, he says in khashitan yaqtulaka fala, right? Which means if you don't fear that the harm will outweigh the benefit, yes, you should do it to his face. And then he said, what? Wala tabtab imamak. And he said, and don't backbite your imam. One, because backbiting is haram, and two, because what? It's not effective. It's not going to change anything. The last thing I want to say is, and this is very, very important as far as a thing that we didn't mention in the khutbah, as far as things that we should be doing, that we need to do. And that is, don't fall for the okie doke, right? Don't fall for the flim flam. Don't allow yourself to be bamboozled. How are we being bamboozled? By the leaders of the world, those who lead from the shadows and those who are out front. They have a policy: distract, divide, conquer. Distract, divide, conquer. This is what they do, and we fall for it over and over and over again. They give us things to think about, to focus on, which are not really what? The thing that we need to be focusing on, to what? To change things for the better. They get you looking over here. It's like 3-card Molly, right? 3-card Molly, right? You start moving these cards around, and you know which card, and you get confused, and you're looking over here, and what? They're doing something over here. That's the first thing. Distract. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted, and understand that keep your eyes on the prize. What is important for us? What are the things that we need to be important and be focusing on as individuals, as families, as communities, etc., and so on. That's number one. Distract. Don't fall for that. Number two, divide. And this is one of their main strategies, and they're very good at it. Republicans and Democrats, red states and blue states, right? The working class versus what? The white collar class, right? The educated versus the uneducated. Black versus white. Immigrants versus what? Versus, naturalized citizens, not naturalized, what is it?
Natives.
Natives, actually. Immigrants versus natives, right? You name it, they create a way to divide us. East versus west, north versus south. They just create these different ways, and we find ourselves fall into one of those silos and then hating everybody outside that silo. And they do that to the Muslims too. And they're doing it to us with the madhahib. Hanafi versus Shafi'i, Shafi'i versus Maliki, Maliki versus Hanbali. They do it with these different names that they give us and that we take for ourselves, right? Sufi versus Salafi. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls what? Muslims. سَمَّاكُمْ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَفِي هَذَا. He called you Muslims from what? From the very beginning. That's what we need to all be trying to be what? Muslims. Not this group and that group, but they put us in these silos and we fall for it. We fall for the what? The okie doke, divide. And once you're divided, you're easy to what? You're easy to conquer. You're easy to conquer because you think your enemy is this person who's poor, this person who's an immigrant, this person who's a Republican, this person who's a Shafi'i. You think that's your enemy, and your real enemy is what? These people who are in power, who divide, who distract, divide, and conquer. And so don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. We need to learn how to come together and realize that people try to divide us on purpose for their own benefit. We benefit nothing. We benefit nothing from, if we're wealthy, hating the poor and wanting the poor to be crushed under the weight of poverty and hunger and uncertainty. What do we benefit from that? You see that? And once, let's just say, for example, all the poor people get crushed. Who's next? It's going to be something else. They get all the brown people out. Somehow, somewhere, if they magically get all the brown people out, they're going to turn to something else. You got to figure, go back to the late 1800s or 1900s when immigration exploded here. Who were the people who were hated? Those people, nowadays, what we call white people. But you know why they were hated? Because they were Italians, because they were Irish. They find a way to eat each other. They find a way to divide you. And they only bring you together if bringing you together helps them divide you against what? Someone else. Right? Y'all see that? It's a game, man. It's a game, and we can't fall for the game. With that, brothers and sisters, I'll bring my remarks to a close, and we'll open the floor for any questions, comments, or critiques. Going once.
I got one question.
Tafadhal, Sheikh.
I just want to make some comments about the leadership. You said when the leader is hard. But me, leadership is something which, if you speak the truth, your leadership will smell good like roses flower.
Say it again, Imam God. You said your leadership will do what?
Smell good.
Like roses.
It will smell good, okay.
Yeah.
To whom? What about the people who are masboom? Will it smell good to them?
No.
The people who are stuffed up?
Yeah, people, if you talk lies as a leader, you will never get it easy.
Yeah.
So, leadership is about speak the truth. And as we said all the time, open your good